Hey, how you doing, guys? For my second video of the week, I want to talk about the tragic Uber crash with the self-driving car. I want to give you my thoughts on it since it is technology related. So I'm going to cover this in actually two different ways. Um, First, I'm going to talk about self-driving vehicles in general, and I think that's going to be a little bit later on. Actually, it'd be number two. And another one is the Uber crash itself. I'm going to talk about pedestrians and normally people who are walking and versus the car traffic, and this could also include if you're not necessarily riding a bicycle, but alongside it, walking it across the street or whatever as well. And I'd say about 80 to 90% of pedestrians are usually at fault rather than the driver or vehicle. And I'm not necessarily talking about in this specific case with the Uber driver. I know typically pedestrians do have the right of way over a regular car vehicle, but this is the thing that I've noticed, and I do this almost every day because I got to pick my son up from daycare, and I always pass by the same crosswalk, see it over and over again. Pedestrians don't necessarily use crosswalks. If they just go a little bit further down the street, then use a crosswalk, it's much safer, and I prefer to use it as well if it's available. Even when they do use a crosswalk, they don't necessarily obey the traffic lights, and or specifically if it has a built-in crosswalk for pedestrians where you push the button and then it'll show the white walking figure where you can safely cross. Even when it's red, they'll tend to go across if they don't see any cars coming. I never do that. I actually wait because you never know. Cars turning right or left or whatever. For those who are actually riding bicycles, they often don't follow the rules of the road because in some states, if you're riding a bicycle, you're considered a motorized vehicle and you're supposed to use the same rules as you would if you're driving a regular motorized car. So they don't particularly obey traffic right of way as if there were a motorized vehicle. And I'm going to talk about the Uber crash in particular, in general. One of the things I noticed is the cyclist didn't use a crosswalk, and consider he's riding a bicycle. It would have been very easy him to use the nearest crosswalk. Maybe took a couple of minutes. Now, actually, the cyclist was nearly invisible until the moment right up until he got hit. You could almost see nothing. It was totally pitch black, and you couldn't even see the driver until he was already on top of the cyclist. So his bicycle didn't have any lights. I didn't see any reflective tape. They were wearing dark clothing, so they were nearly invisible. And I believe even a regular driver would have a trouble stopping in time and may have still hit him. Now, of course, a regular driver without any automated vehicle probably would have had a quicker response time, but even then they would still, I believe, have trouble. Now, this is my thoughts on self-driving cars in a nutshell, and I've mentioned this before as well, is I don't know if we will ever really use driverless cars by themselves with regular traffic. I just see too many things going wrong. I mean, even if the technology was there, it could be issues with the GPS, or it could just be hundreds of things. It could be the vehicle goes bad itself, you lose brakes, which a case that actually happened with me, my brakes went out. With a driverless car, and it was actually shown too that automated vehicles don't anticipate things like that, like the brakes going out, people just running in front of you last minute. They don't anticipate that. They only go by what's programmed as far as the rules of the road and things like that. And I don't know if they would necessarily ever be able to do that 100% safely. The only way I could see automated vehicles ever being on the road is you'd have to have a safety observer behind the wheel, and then even if they did that, that kind of takes away the whole advantage of having a driverless car to begin with. The only way, before I get into that, let me say I do realize that the driver himself was kind of looking down toward the console, may even been looking at their cell phone. But I think over long periods of time, I think that's natural for us to do that, because since we don't have anything to do, we're not actually driving the cars, you tend to wander off. So I'm saying, yeah, the safety observer could have been more observant in doing so. Now, I can see automatic vehicles can work, but the only way I could see them work for 100% reliability and safety is if they had their own roads offside the main public traffic from the driver cars. And I've actually seen this with rail systems. For instance, San Diego, their trolleys are totally automated. They stop at the station, you get on, they take you every stop they stop, and you get out, and it's good to go. And they have the safety, like the trains, they have the safety things that stop the traffic, allow the trolley to go through, fully automated. Now something like that would work, but yeah, I just don't see the Google cars or anything totally being reliable. I don't know, even if the technology is there, things happen. Give me your thoughts on that, and perhaps what happened with the accident. But yeah, it is kind of tragic it happened, and yeah. But that's my thoughts on that, and have a great rest of the week, and see you next week. Hopefully, we've got a good video coming up for next week, and see you later.